Yo, welcome in everyone. Oof, my hair's looking kind of rough, sorry. All right, I hope everyone's having a fantastic Sunday. It is first time here on YouTube. We ain't got no more bangaboos to throw in chat, so we gotta find new things to throw in chat. I hope everyone's doing good. Let me turn down the music a little bit. All right. Okay, how does the audio sound? I hope it's sounding good. I think it should be good. We got the music going at a low volume. We got my mic. Oh, my voted sticker looks so cool on the mic. Sorry. I think I need to put my chair up a little bit. Ooh, Stardust. Stardust, I love you. Welcome in. I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Thank you. The audio is good. Oh, can you still see can you see the chat on screen? Yes, you can. The messages, hold on. At least in this view where it's full screen. Let's see. Oh, it's on screen. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yes, chat is good and on stream. All right, I'm glad to hear. I am super glad to hear. So, like I said, I hope everyone's having a good Sunday. Sunday is probably, I would say, the most important day of the week. Hey, welcome in. I'm just gonna call you Mom because it would be weird to call you by your first name. Welcome in, Mom. Hell yeah. All right. So, welcome in everyone. My name is Angelina Tucci. This is the new and improved Inland Empire political broadcast. Inland Empire political news broadcast on YouTube. So, no more Twitch. We're done with Twitch. Twitch was fun while it lasted, but you know, is easier here. YouTube is where I'm getting the views, so we're just gonna stream straight to YouTube. So I hope everyone's doing well. All right. Let's start the show. Okay, let's start with the official opening. Welcome in, everyone. My name is Angelina Tucci. This is Inland Empire Political News, episode number 5. Today we'll be talking about updates on Prop 50, including something that our president has to say about it. So stay tuned for that. We're going to definitely talk about the 10 freeway big rig semi-truck driver accident where I believe 3 people were killed. It's turning into a big political debate, so we got to cover it. And then some other stuff later on in the broadcast that's not related to the Inland Empire. I want to talk about Venezuela. So, those are the things for today. It's going to be kind of a rough show. So as we get through it and as I figure out how to do things here. Aw, that's such a cute little kitty. I gotta get the chat. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Let's switch the screens. Heck yeah. All right. Now, I unfortunately couldn't figure out how to use Chatterino with YouTube video, so we'll just have to let it. I mean, with YouTube live streaming. So, but we'll just, I think we could probably throw this chat box. Oof, why is it ginormous? Hold on. Oh. There we go. Sorry. I got big boomer energy here. What the frick? Okay. There we go. So we can still have it in the Hassan style, so that way I can still LARP as my senpai. And you could see the little emotes on the screen. All right. Shout out to Dens 1000 for the Rally House music. You know that this is the music I always play on broadcast. Aw, Stardust sent little puppies? Is that what it is? Why is my mom number 1 and then Stardust is number 2? I don't understand. That's hilarious. Okay. All right. So first off, let's go into Prop 50. That's the big story here. Oh, not full screen. My bad. YouTube changed all its little icon thingies. So, all right, let's hit play.
Massive show of military force as the U.S. campaign against the Maduro regime in Venezuela reaches a new high.
Oh, whoops! This is about Venezuela. I'm sorry. Here we go. Let's just go to this. Okay. Yeah. So let's get into the Prop 50 news. Like I said in previous broadcast, and I'm pretty sure I have it up on my YouTube stream now, at least as a YouTube video, us going over Prop 50. If not, I'll upload that video soon enough, I promise. But it seems to be creating a lot of problems. As we know, Prop 50 was originally a response to Donald Trump asking asking Republican governors or Republicans in Republican states to get more votes for them. So like he wants to have more representatives in the federal government, like I'm talking Congress and stuff, to be more representing of Republicans, if that makes sense. He wants it to be unfair. I don't know how else to say it without, there's no unbiased way to say what Donald Trump is doing. He wants to tip the scales in his favor. And whether you agree with what I'm saying or not, that's what he's doing. And unfortunately, Prop 50 is Democrats' response to that. So, I think as we discussed in previous videos, Prop 50 is not inherently like pro-democracy or whatever, but neither is what Donald Trump is doing. So, some of y'all may have heard me say that Prop 50 is what Gavin Newsom is doing with Prop 50 is fighting fire with fire. Yes, that's very much it. But at this point, what else can we do? We are literally having to break our own desired way to draw the districts for these election maps. We had to abandon it because, Donald Trump is trying to go like full dictator. And that's spoiler alert. That's kind of why I want to talk about Venezuela later on today. So, let's read this article from one of my favorite political reporters, Maya C. Miller. We saw her talk about Prop 50 on Ballotpedia, that Ballotpedia video. So let's read this article from her. It's by it's from Cal Matters, and it's titled "Trump's DOJ is sending election monitors to California with voting on Prop 50 underway." First things first, what the hell? Donald Trump is sending election monitors in a California election? Like here's my ballot. I literally still have my ballot. And it does not have my address on it still, thank God. Here's my ballot. Y'all remember me filling this out. There was only one question on the ballot. It's about Prop 50. So why does Trump need to send election monitors to see how California, what's up with that? Let's get into it. All right. The Trump administration's Department of Justice will deploy election monitors to 5 California counties on Election Day. The department announced Friday in what it describes as an effort to ensure transparency, ballot security, and compliance with federal law. The news comes as voters are already casting ballots on Prop 50, Governor Gavin Newsom's proposal to redraw states' congressional districts to favor Democrats. Early voting, in-person voting is set to begin this weekend in many counties. Federal personnel from the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division will be sent to Fresno, Kern County, Los Angeles County, Orange, and Riverside County. Wow, interesting. I wonder why Donald Trump is not sending any election monitors to San Bernardino County. Okay. I mean, like, I'm saying that's a good thing because here I am going to go put my ballot in at a San Bernardino County ballot box probably soon. I'm probably, shout out to mom. She's going to drop out the ballots for the whole family. Okay, the former vice chair of the Californian Republican Party and Republican National Committee chairwoman leads the division. It's unclear whether the federal monitors will be on site during the in-person voting or just on November 4th. The Justice Department has not said whether the monitors will be stationed at polling places in addition to county elected offices. A spokesperson for the department did not respond to an email request for comment in time for publication. The request for election monitors came from the Californian Republican Party. Oh, that's weird. California Republicans asked Trump for election monitors. The Associated Press reports. Chairwoman Corinne Rankin. Hold on, let me look up if I'm actually saying this name's lady right. Okay, so she's the chairwoman of the California GOP. God. All right. Okay. So whatever, she asked for the request, wrote a letter to Dillon's office on Monday, according to the AP. A spokesperson for the state party did not respond to multiple requests for comment via email and text. Election observers are nothing out of the ordinary, and both parties regularly deploy poll watchers to ensure voting sites abide by state and federal election laws. The Justice Department has also had a long history of monitoring jurisdictions that have track records of civil rights violations. Last November, leaders in some Republican states denied the Biden administration's Justice Department personnel to entry into some polling sites. Wow. It's entirely normal for the Californian Republican Party to request election integrity resources, whether they may be available. Said Brian Watkins, a former senior advisor to the state party, and its former chairwoman, Jessica Malone Patterson. Watkins said that the state's GOP, during his tenure, welcomed poll monitors from the House Administration Committee, the National Republican Congressional Committee, and the Republican National Convention. If federal oversight gives voters confidence that their ballots will be secure and counted, I fully support it, said Milan Patterson in a statement. She is now leading the campaign against Newsom's Prop 50. California Democrats immediately denounced the request as a weaponization of the Justice Department against states' voters. No amount of election interference by the Californian Republican Party is going to silence the voices of California voters, said Rusty Hicks, chair of the California Democratic Party. Sadly, we've come to expect it from the so-called party that operates as more of a Trump fan club. Wow. Damn. Okay. All right. I think I came into this article thinking that it was going to be an attack from Trump, but in reality, I think California Democrats might be just might just be a little bit scared, I think. Maybe not scared, but like if yeah, California Republicans asking for election monitors totally sounds like a normal thing for me, right? Because of course they're the losers always in California. I mean that in the most nicest way. They just Democrats do better here. So yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Chat, do you feel like Democrats are turning into the new Trump voters? And by that, I mean they're going to say no against anything Trump does? Or is it just like they genuinely feel that Trump is doing something bad? Because, yes, he is. Trump requesting Texas and other states to try to force or to try to get more Republican votes. That's bad. That's purposely tipping the scales. Okay, it's an intimidation tactic, Mom says. Yeah, I agree. I agree. We just have to make sure to not be intimidated. You know, Democrats are gonna dot all their T's. I mean, cross all their T's and dot all their I's, right? Don't give the GOP any reason to think that Democrats are cheating. Because if that's what they want to argue, then they're gonna argue it. But I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. Okay. All right. So let's go to this other article on Prop 50. Hey, from Maya C. Miller and Jeannie Kwong. So, all right. California, listen up. Former President Barack Obama wants you to know that the whole nation is counting on you this November. Democracy is on the ballot, the 44th president says straight to the camera in the latest advertisement. Oh, we got to see this advertisement. The ballot questions, hold on, let's see if this is, no, that's just a link to it. Hold on. Yes, on Prop 50 Obama. Hey, 12 days ago.
California, the whole nation is counting on you. Democracy is on the ballot November 4th. Republicans want to steal enough seats in Congress to rig the next election and wield unchecked power for 2 more years.
What
Prop
is
50,
this?
You can stop Republicans in their tracks. Prop 50 puts our elections back on a level playing field, preserves independent redistricting over the long term, and lets the people decide. Return your ballot today. Vote yes on 50.
Damn, Obama.
The nation is counting on.
Hold on, I just want to see these graphics. What is this B-roll? Hold on, let's turn down. What is this B-roll? Why is it so dark and scary? They even they cut Trump's shadow. I'm sorry. I feel like this B-roll is bad. I know it's supposed to, make Trump look bad, but come on. Look at that. Okay, we got, but wait, are these real shots? Oh, I guess it's from The Guardian, right? Wow. All right, that was pretty cool. Pretty funny, I should say. Okay. Here we go. All right. Republicans want to steal enough seats in Congress to rig the next election and wield unchecked power for 2 more years, Obama continues in the 7-figure ad. Damn, that ad cost 7 figures. Buying air across California, referring to GOP-led redistricting efforts President Donald Trump has backed in other states like Texas. Yep. With Prop 50, you can stop Republicans in their tracks. And I think he said level the playing field. As voters face a November 4th deadline to turn in their ballots, California's redistricting fight has reached a pinnacle as both sides pour tens of millions of dollars on their final push to persuade and mobilize voters. The yes side has largely outspent its opponents, yes, which we have seen. I've seen without a doubt more more advertisements out there for yes on Prop 50. So, but I have seen some no on Prop 50. I just saw 2 signs by a church in my neighborhood. So that tells me that that church might be a little bit partisan. Um, Still, recent polls shows the race remains close, and persuasion in the final weeks is critical for both sides. While opponents of Prop 50 are going all in on a good governance message and playing on most voters' unease with politicians drawing their own districts, supporters of the measure are doubling down on anti-Trump rhetoric. And both campaigns are trying to turn out Latino voters, a key constituency that could swing the election. A survey from the nonpartisan Cook Political Report earlier this month found that although 50% of registered voters say they would support Prop 50 and 35% said they would oppose it, nearly half of those surveyed indicated they were undecided or only softly committed to their vote. The poll included 918 registered voters with sampling error of plus or minus 3.6 percentage points. That's not bad. There's still plenty of time to sway voters, especially those who are just now tuning into the fact that an election is happening. Oh, damn, I feel like we need a poll to see. Did you know that there was an election happening? But I don't know how to do polls. Oh, yeah, so here we go. Okay. I'll just say do you know what, or I'll say, have you heard about Prop 50? Okay, start poll. Heck yeah. All right. Okay. If voters approve Prop 50, California would temporarily adopt gerrymandering maps drawn by Democrats through 2030 and suspend the ones drawn by Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission just 4 years ago. The ballot question informs voters that California's redistricting is a direct response to Texas Republicans' decision to redraw their district lines mid-decade. And when it comes to persuasion, money is critical. More than 68,000 people have given money in support to the Yes on Prop 50 campaign since July, according to campaign finance data. With the biggest contributors coming from the House Majority PAC, controlled by congressional Democrats and funded for policy reform controlled by Democrat megadonor George Soros. Damn, can't beat those Soros allegations now, can we? That doesn't include the nearly $13 million that billionaire investor Tom Steyer spent separately to run his own ads supporting the measure. Wow. By contrast, only 200 contributors have given to the 2 separate no campaigns, including a massive $30 million from wealthy Republican physicist Charles Munger Jr., who funded the 2008 and 2010 efforts to establish the state's independent redistricting commission. Wow. Yeah, I would be pissed off too if I was like focused so hard to get the independent redistricting commission going. Then like Tom Steyer has his own commercial. We should probably watch that.
Let me tell you something about a bully. The only thing they understand is strength. The Democratic Party were furious at me for organizing the need to impeach campaign, but we saw the threat. Millions joined the movement. Trump tried to steal one election. He's trying again now. It's Texas versus California. You want to beat Trump? Democrats can't keep playing by the old rules. Vote yes on Prop 50 and let's stick it to Trump.
Dang. That was the ad. Tom Steyer. He has his own YouTube channel too. Wow. All right. No has the steeper hill to climb. There's no doubt about that, said Amy Walter, publisher and editor-in-chief of the Cook Political Report. She explains that opponents of Prop 50 would not only need to solidify their tentative support and ensure they vote, but also persuade all undecided voters and also convert some of the tentative yes voters. Yeah. Prop 50, no on Prop 50. That's why really don't think it has a chance. I don't know. But working in the opposition's favor is widespread unease with the idea of elected officials influencing the shape of their districts. About 50% of Cook's polls respondents who indicated they would probably vote yes said they agreed that politicians shouldn't draw. Okay, so 56% of the people understand that this is not a necessarily good thing. They know that we are starting a fire. If you're in the no campaign, it's the one place where you can see you can get some traction, Walter said. Opponents of Prop 50 are trying hard to capitalize on the discomfort in their recent advertising. Prop 50 takes us backwards and rips power away from the people. An unidentified woman tells viewers in a recent No on 50 advertisement. Then the declaration, politicians can rig elections, flashes across the screen in bold red and black text. Wow. Okay. Jessica Malone Patterson, the former state GOP chairperson who is leading the No on Prop 50 campaign backed by House Republicans, said she's targeting independents and Democrats who are dissatisfied with the party. That means focusing on a limited, simple, good governance message to turn out undecided voters. Well, I think, honestly, the joke's on her because I feel like the people that are dissatisfied with the party, with the Democrats and independents that are dissatisfied with their own Democratic Party, they are dissatisfied because Democrats have not been doing things like Prop 50. So Prop 50 is exactly what they want. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know, but I feel like her idea of trying to get Democrats that are dissatisfied with the party, they're not dissatisfied with that the party's not conservative enough. They're dissatisfied that the party's not left enough, homie. Okay, that's kind of dumb in my opinion, but I don't know. Malone Patterson isn't concerned about mobilizing the Republican base, she said, adding that the Yes campaign is already doing that for her by demonizing Trump and defying Newsom, whom conservatives despise. Okay. In a small nod to the party faithful, the campaign is running one advertisement criticizing the governor. It hammers him on affordability. We can't win with just Republican votes, so we need to make sure that those persuadable voters, that the conversation is happening with them, Malone Patterson says. They know that giving this power to politicians, it will not serve anyone but those politicians. Except it expires in 2030, right? And they need just some permission to vote no on this. That mirrors the message of the other no campaign paid for by Munger. If you look at all the polling since the beginning, voters don't like gerrymandering, full stop, said Amy Tomatan, spokesperson for the campaign. So we're just reminding people that this is gerrymandering. Yeah, but then it's like also like if you're reminding people that this is gerrymandering, then you're also admitting that Texas is doing gerrymandering. Am I wrong? By contrast, their opponents on the yes side are investing heavily in anti-Trump message, a move that Walter said was smart given that the president is the special catalyst that helps the yes side overcome California's traditional preferences for rejecting ballot measures. Yes. In digital ads, the powerful California Labor Federation is reminding its 2 million members that Trump has terminated federal workers' contracts and cut infrastructure spending, which paid for many trade workers' projects. Yeah. Trump is going to have a hard time getting people to be on his side, especially when he cut their jobs. But in phone banking operations, its president, Lorena Gonzalez, said the catch-all framing of Prop 50 as a way to fight back against Trump works best to motivate voters who all know what they're not happy about. Do we want to talk about ICE? Do we want to talk about LGBT issues? Do we want to say fight fascism? Gonzalez said of a discussion among labor organizers working to turn out students on University of California campuses. The Service Employee International Union of California, that's SEIU, is taking an all of the above approach, said Tina Orr, the union's executive director. A digital advertisement urges viewers to fight back against the Trump administration's inhumane immigration policies. Hell yeah. And I say it's inhumane because last episode we talked about I forgot what his name was, but the guy that literally died in ICE custody. I think his Ishmael or something like that. Ismael. I forgot what his last name was, but yeah, homie died in ICE custody. So yeah, there's totally inhumane immigration policies. That's not a lie in saying that. And recent mailers sent out to SEIU's 800,000 California members, many whom work in healthcare, reminded them that Republican-controlled Congress approved Trump's mega bill that would take health insurance coverage from an estimated 10 million Americans. I wonder if that's the same thing that Marjorie Taylor Greene was arguing against. I don't know. I urge all registered nurses to volunteer, vote, and share this message with your friends and family, reads the mailer, written in the first person and signed by Monica Hernandez, vice president of SEIU Local, that represents nurses. In Asian American immigrant communities, pro-Prop 50 organizers are emphasizing cuts to healthcare programs and how Trump policies destabilize local economies. That's true. Tariffs, bro. Tariffs are a nod to tariffs. Yeah, there you go. For Latino voters, the Yes campaign is airing ads in English and Spanish featuring New York Representative AOC and Democratic Senator Alex Padilla of California, who was forced to the ground by federal agents in Los Angeles this summer during the... Yeah, you know what? And I'm going to say it. Alex Padilla, if you're watching this, why are you not making a bigger stink out of it, bro? Why? You were literally brutalized by cops. Why have you not, put out a lawsuit already? Come on. Geez, poor people know how to do this shit better. Latino voters, the state's largest racial group, at about 30% of likely voters, are a key constituency that could swing the election. Affordability remains the top priority for Latino voters. A survey by the Latino Community Foundation of 1,200 Latino registered voters in California in September shows. What a mouthful of a sentence. But they also disapprove of the president by wide margins and felt pessimistic about their personal economic prospects in higher shares than ever. Vice President of Policy Christina Christian Aranya, said by a 3-1 margin, they said they felt Trump had betrayed them on immigration. Yeah, I really, really, really wish we could do a poll of people that are Latino that voted for Trump that literally were like, yes, when he says Mexico is not sending their best, they're sending the rapist. Those people were like, he's not talking about me. He's talking about the fact that Mexico is sending rapists and stuff. And we're like, Trump would never do anything to me. I'm not a Mexican rapist. And then they found out that Trump was just saying that just to say that, and in reality, he's trying to deport anyone and everyone who's, looks Latino. Like, what's up with that? So yeah, I can totally understand how Latino voters feel that Trump had betrayed them, because he did. He lied to them, even though, okay, look at it from my perspective. Even though I knew Trump was lying to Latinos, aka I knew that Trump was lying to me. I'm not Mexican, but I knew that what he was saying, he did not really mean it. He did not really mean that he was going to actually deport the criminals, the rapists, the blah, blah, blah. Because we're already doing that. We were already doing that, bro. And what he really said was, I just want to see less brown people. And just because I had enough forethought to be like, yes, I know Trump is a scumbag and he is lying, does not mean that the people who thought that he really said, really thought that he was going to, that he was going to be his word on immigration, now we are seeing that they're flipping. So, shout out to all those people that think that Latinos are a new Republican, voting bloc. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's true. I think it was just a one-time thing. Unless like Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz or some other Latino goes out there and runs on the Republican ticket for president, I don't think we will ever see Latinos vote as much for someone as they did for Trump. Because when they were voting for Trump, they were literally taking him at his face value. Don't shame them for getting lied to. We all know the saying. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again. No, I'm just kidding. Fool me twice, shame on you. So I'm glad that maybe Latinos are finally getting it. All right. There's a lot of people that say if you really want to talk to Latino voters, you only have to talk about the economy, said Yes on 50 consultant Juan Rodriguez. It's a false choice. You can't just talk about kitchen table issues when they're burning down your house. Yeah. I think if Latinos cared about the economy as their number one priority, there has to be another thing now that they're worried about, because come on. They're literally, at least here in California, it's been nonstop. I feel like ever since Trump got into office, it's been nonstop with the ICE going throughout LA, going throughout Southern California, just going after California now. And now that we see it's happening in Chicago, and I think I don't know what other city they're in. That's Northern California cities. But like in Chicago, they're doing the same thing. It's just might very well be that there's not the same amount of people in Chicago that there is in LA that were willing to, go out there and protest against ICE. I'm sure they'll be happy to blow up Waymos, but it's true. California is something special to the Latino community, and you can't mess with us. And I hope other groups of Latinos throughout the United States are gonna build as strong as like a bond as we have in Los Angeles and Southern California, honestly. So, all right. The campaign spent more than 10 million specifically on Latino outreach, Rodriguez said, including broadcast, digital, print, and radio ads in Spanish and English, and phone banking operations with Latino community groups. Still, Ariana called Latinos the most undecided voter. Latino approval for Prop 50 is just under 50% in the Inland Empire and Central Valley. Wow. That's crazy. So I wonder if it's just because Latinos don't know about it, or I don't know. Because it's not an economic issue. According to the group's survey, which is sample, okay. Ariana is most concerned that fears of immigration or other federal agents showing up at polling places could depress turnout. No way. No way. Particularly as immigration raids in California and elsewhere have ensnared U.S. citizens. The survey shows 2/3 of Latino voters statewide are concerned about immigration enforcement this election. Yeah. 2/3 of Latino. So now, Trump, who was praised for getting Latinos to vote for him, is now single-handedly getting Latinos to not vote for him, or at least to be against him, because he brought up the whole immigration thing again. Latinos here did not care about immigration, prior to 2015. Democrats and Republicans were like, immigration is a good thing. It brings in good people to America. It was literally just Trump that was like, nope, we need I don't know what his hang up with Mexico is. Why does Trump hate Mexico so much? That's all I want to know. Why does Trump hate Mexico? What did Mexico ever do to him? Honestly. All right. Let's get into the next story. Let's get into what's going on with the semi-truck driver.
The truck driver accused of causing a fiery crash on the 10 freeway in Ontario has pleaded not guilty to all charges. The truck driver accused of causing a fiery crash on the 10 freeway in Ontario has pleaded not guilty to all charges filed against him this morning.
3 people were killed, including a Pomona High School coach and his wife. Rachel Menitoff joining us live from the News Center tonight with more on today's developments. Rachel?
Rick, Cher, good evening to you both. We're learning more tonight about the victims, the other drivers on the road that day. Besides the 3 people killed, 4 were injured, including a mother of 4. She was leaving work on her way to pick up her daughter from school. She's now undergoing multiple surgeries and has a very long road ahead of her.
Oh my gosh.
21-year-old Jashanpreet Singh in a Rancho Cucamonga courtroom Friday. With his attorney and a translator by his side, he pleaded not guilty to vehicular manslaughter and DUI charges. A judge ultimately denied his bail after prosecutors argued he may be a flight risk. The Department of Homeland Security says Singh is from India, that he entered the U.S. illegally in 2022 and was, quote, released into the country by the Biden administration. Singh was allegedly driving a semi-truck under the influence. Dashcam video shows the moment he apparently plowed into traffic,
he didn't even
causing
brake.
A gruesome, fiery pileup on the 10 West in
way.
Ontario earlier this week.
God.
The crash shut down the freeway for hours, and eyewitnesses say the truck driver never braked. 3 people were killed, including beloved high school basketball coach Clarence Nelson and his wife, Lisa. Nelson was a former assistant basketball coach at Pomona High School and was most recently working at Rancho Cucamonga High.
Loving, supportive, influential role models. The couple that I think everybody would aim to be.
4 others were injured, including 42-year-old Tamra Gay.
She's the person that checks on everyone else. And so for her, everyone having to check in on her and take care of her, it's not a good feeling for her. She's usually on the other end helping everyone else.
Aikita Gay says her sister was leaving work Tuesday morning when she became entangled. Her red Dodge pinned underneath another truck in the lineup.
Oh my gosh.
She's since undergone 4 surgeries.
Hold on. I want to see this video again.
Became entangled.
That's her car right there, I think. Hold on. Let me turn off the subtitles.
Red Dodge pinned.
Yeah, it's, I think, right there, and it just got under. Jeez, what a terrible accident.
Underneath another truck in the lineup. She's since undergone 4 surgeries, suffered a shattered pelvis, a broken femur, and a damaged shoulder. Her family suspects it'll take a long time before she's able to walk again and hopes the alleged perpetrator is held responsible.
He's permanently injured my sister. Her life is never going to be the same. As a Class A, I carry a Class A license, and I would never put anyone's life in danger the way he's endangered my sister and took the lives of others.
Singh is now in custody without bail. He's due back in court in 2 weeks for a preliminary hearing. If convicted on all counts, he could spend decades behind bars. We're live in the news center. I'm Rachel Menitoff. Cher, back to you.
Crazy. So that was a video on that. Yeah, and then so
breaking news with the 21-year-old truck driver charged in the deadly Ontario crash earlier this week, having made his first court appearance. Jashanpreet Singh is an undocumented immigrant facing vehicular manslaughter and driving under the influence charges in the deaths of 3 people. He did plead not guilty today. This comes as the Department of Transportation says California violated federal laws that allowed Singh to get behind the wheel, leading to the crash in Ontario. The Department of Transportation says the state failed to enforce stricter requirements for commercial driver licenses for non-U.S. citizens, but Governor Newsom said the federal government determines commercial driver's license eligibility.
that's crazy. So we're gonna hear a lot of back and forth on that, I think. Yeah, sorry, sister. Scary video, I know. But at least, I can't believe they released it already. It genuinely shows that like he did not break at all. That's crazy. Whether he was under the influence of something or something, he should have been paying attention to the road. I don't know what happened. Whether he was under the influence, I don't know. I think the police, or they're still waiting for the toxicology report to come back to see if he was under the influence of anything. But yeah, as far as him being undocumented, that's why it's turning into a whole political thing now. I'm sure that whatever process there was to get to get commercial driver's license, I'm sure is a broken process and people sneak through all the time. But man, there has to be something, and I don't know, we got to stop the finger pointing. I don't know. I really don't know. It's not like it was anyone's fault that he was on the road. He's trying to work and make money, I'm sure. Because being a truck driver is, I don't know if it's lucrative or not, but it's still a highly in demand job, so it's crazy. Hold on, I want to find this Reddit post discussing the accident. I don't know if I can find it though. Yes, found it. Okay. Yeah, so this is on the Inland Empire subreddit. It was posted 5 days ago, and like immediately when I heard about this news, I went to the subreddit to see if anyone had posted about it, and yep, there's a lot of thoughts on here. So I want to just kind of see if anyone has any info or anything. So we know one of the people killed in this accident is heartbreaking on so many levels. Yeah. Cause these big rigs need to be better. I see them driving like assholes all the time in the IE. You'd be amazed how many are uninsured, underinsured, or on a suspended license. Wow. And yeah, because why? Because this is a high demand job. We need people to do these jobs, and people who need money will do what they can to get the money from these jobs, So, someone said, what were your thoughts on the English requirement for truckers? Would that skew towards having more legitimate drivers? Stupid. So yeah, I think another thing was that this dude, I guess they gave him an interpreter, but he doesn't need an interpreter. It's weird. There's just Oh, here we go. Here's my comment. Been seeing them way too comfortable taking the far left lane to pass. Hell yeah. I'm sorry, I had to say that because who here has seen truck drivers go in the speeding lane or, the fast lane, the far left lane? I've seen truck drivers even go into the carpool lane. So, it's crazy. It's crazy. They're also serviced. Okay. Drivers are genuinely psychotic. Was taking my dad to one. Oh my God. Nope. It's a numbers game. The number of trucks in the IE has always been high. However, with the warehouse boom, that number has increased exponentially 100%. Over the past 10 years or so, it's also tearing up our infrastructure and slightly diminishing our quality of life. Yeah, I wouldn't say slightly because I think there was a report that came out that people who live by the warehouses have more like exhaust fumes and stuff by their houses than before. So crazy. Someone said card brain society. Thank you, Mom. Yep, we've all seen truck drivers in the far left lane being too crazy. Why? Because they got to get their deliveries, because we shouldn't be paying by load. Passed right by this going east on the 10 at 2 p.m. I had a feeling it was bad by the angle of the red semi, but I didn't think it would be that bad. Imagine sitting in traffic and seeing that coming and you can't outmaneuver it. Tragic. Yep. I just dropped someone off at the airport and was wondering why navigation had me take the 210 and then the streets for the rest. Fast tracks are the only open lanes. That's crazy. I always exercise extreme caution around semi-trucks. Half of the time I pass by one, they're swerving around in their lane like they're tired as F. Yep. Never be in their blind spots. I 100% agree. It never be like slightly behind a truck or like behind a truck. If you're there, don't just don't be like this behind the truck, like this is you're in the corner. No, just pass by the truck. Just pass by the truck, get around them, let them be in their right lane. Don't go slow in the right lane. Let them be in the slow ones in the right lane, I don't know. Something's got to change because traffic, the way people drive in Southern California has gotten so much more worse, I think, over the past 20 years. I don't know. People who have been driving in Southern California forever, has it gotten worse over the years? I feel like and I've probably only been driving for like 10 years here, and I feel like it's gotten way worse. So, driving up the 57 through the 60 merge is goddamn final destination nightmare in the mornings. First it's chill, then suddenly you're boxed in on all four sides by big rigs changing lanes regardless of your presence. Yeah. It reminds me of the truck driver in Arizona who killed 5 people because he was watching TikTok. Stupid. I wonder how much the fulfillment center racket, Amazon, etc., pay, donate, sponsor city officials to let them have free reign. Sometimes it feels like the IE is just designed for these megacorp warehouses, and anyone living there is just collateral damage. I can't hardly disagree with that one. They drive in all lanes over the road. Where is CHP? Yes. Where the hell is CHP? CHP is never there calling out these big rigs. By all accounts, CHP doesn't give a hoot about where or how semis are driven on our roadways. They have plenty of time to ding drivers who violate the already lightly used HOV lanes, but semi driving 25 in the fast lane? Nah. Oh, man. CHP officials said the big rig driver who didn't brake was later arrested for driving under the influence of drugs. He was identified as a 21-year-old man. This is when a civilized society would hang someone. But let me guess, it takes... Oh my God, shut up, bro. Shut up. No, we don't do justice like that here in America. We do not do justice like that. All right. Let's get on to the next story. that was a depressing topic, and I thought reading the subreddit would be better, but no, it's still just depressing. And I really hope that they get to the bottom of this for the sake of the families who lost loved ones, honestly. Okay. Not last thing, one thing I wanted to cover, since we covered it a little bit last week, was the strike that was happening at Kaiser, right? They said that they were going to go on strike, I think starting like October 13th or something, or 15th. And so this was last week. So this is from Inland Empire Community News. If you don't know who they are, I would highly suggest following their website. It's a collection of the local newspapers who, like, I think the Colton Courier, the I don't know. Oh, El Chicano, Colton Courier, and the Rialto Record. Those newspapers all contribute to IECN. And I think it's just a great place because there's like not that many ads on these pages, and you get good quality articles. And so this one is written by Mandy Sandoval. I think that's this guy right here. This guy, I think. But I don't know. Okay, anyways, let's go over Kaiser. Fontana Kaiser workers strike over patient care staffing in historic nationwide healthcare walkout. Hundreds of healthcare workers gathered outside the Kaiser Permanente Fontana Medical Center on Wednesday, October 15th, marking day 2 of multi-day strikes over patient care, staffing levels, and contract negotiations. The strike, which began Tuesday and is expected to continue through Sunday, October 19th, is part of a broader action involving more than 8,600 workers across the Inland Empire and tens of thousands nationally. Participants at the Fontana site include members of the United Nurses Association of California and the Union of Healthcare Professionals, UNAC/UHCP, and United Steelworkers Local 7600. I wonder if that's the Fontana Steelwork. The Kaiser Steelworkers. I don't know. Among them was Maria Arevalo Ramirez, a union representative from Fontana, who said the protest was motivated by more than just wages. We're not just striking for ourselves, she said. We're striking for our patients, future nurses, and future of healthcare. Arevalo Ramirez also noted that workers are not being compensated while on strike. We are taking a leap of faith, not just for ourselves, but for our patients, he said. We were investing that money into patient care and progress for nursing. Healthcare worker Marcial Reyes described the impact of staffing on patient wait times and the strain on emergency departments. We don't want to make our patient wait. Give us more staff to take care of our patient, he said. Reyes added that delays in accessing primary care were contributing to overcrowding in emergency rooms. We've sometimes seen patient wait 8 hours. They use the ER because they cannot get appointments. Oh, wow. Wow, I wonder why they can't get appointments. Is it because the patient-to-doctor ratio is too dang high in the Inland Empire? Fontana employees continued demonstrating despite rainy weather earlier this week. Reyes said that the rain didn't deter turnout. Getting wet is something that we are used to anyway in the nursing field. Rain is nothing, he said. Registered nurse Selena Zumaya, a UNAC member, expressed concern about short staffing. This is a very tough job and we're dealing with life and death, she said. We are always short-staffed. The last few days I worked, we were down 6 bodies in a 24-hour period. Wow, that's a lot. 6 people don't show up to work. I ain't showing up to work either. United Steelworkers Local 7,600, which represents a large portion of striking workers in the region, stated that the walkout followed months of negotiations with Kaiser Permanente. In a public statement, Local 7600 President Michael Barnett said, "This strike is about safe staffing, respect on the job, and ensuring every patient gets the care they deserve." He emphasized that workers voted overwhelmingly to authorize the strike after contracts expired at the end of September. In response, Kaiser Permanente issued a statement on October 15th outlining what it describes as a strong and comprehensive offer. The organization said its proposal includes a 21.5% wage increase over 4 years. Okay. It's just their PR thing that they send out. Kaiser officials noted that oh my God. We respect the alliance and values their members and our employees for their vital role they play caring for more than 12.5 million members, the statement read. But this strike is unnecessary when such a generous offer is on the table. It is designed to disrupt the lives of our patients, the very people we are here to serve. Why would nurses want to do that? I don't understand. Oh, look, they got a Bernie Sanders quote. Kaiser confirmed that its hospitals and medical offices remain open, though some appointments and elective procedures may be rescheduled or shifted to virtual care. Despite the ongoing dispute, the demonstration at the Fontana location drew considerable support from passing motorists and community members. Reyes said the response had been largely positive. "The great majority of people are honking and cheering us on," he said. And then Bernie said in a tweet, "I'm proud to stand in solidarity with 3,000 Kaiser nurses and healthcare workers striking in California and Hawaii against corporate greed. If Kaiser can pay its CEO $12.7 million and make $4 billion in profits, then it can afford to treat all of its workers with respect, not contempt." Wow. Several public officials have weighed in on social media. At the Fontana site, Arevalo Ramirez said that the goal of the strike is not only to address wages and working conditions, but also to ensure that the voices of frontline workers are acknowledged. "It's about being heard and making healthcare better for everyone," she said. Wow. Hey, Bishonen in a box. Yay, Bernie. Heck yeah. We love Bernie. All right. So now that we know the Kaiser's still striking, it sounds like they're still gonna, still haven't come to an agreement. That's crazy. Crazy.
South America and a massive show of military force.
Okay. All right. Let's get into the final story for today. We're going to talk about Venezuela because we need to.
South America and a massive show of military force as the U.S. campaign against the Maduro regime in Venezuela reaches a new high. Tonight, President Trump with a clear message of force in the Caribbean.
We stopped all drugs virtually from coming in by sea. And we'll stop all drugs from coming in by land very shortly.
The Pentagon now sending the Navy's largest aircraft carrier strike group to the region.
No
the USS Gerald R. Ford. Nearly doubling the number of U.S. forces there and adding to the B-1 bombers flown near Venezuela's coast this week. The Trump administration has accused Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro of heading up the Cartel de los Soles and facilitating the flow of drugs into the U.S., an allegation Maduro has denied.
This is a central hub of terrorist activity across the Western Hemisphere.
The Pentagon says 43 people were killed from at least 10 strikes on vessels they say were carrying drugs, releasing these videos but not providing further evidence. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado expressed support for the Trump administration's approach.
Wow.
The position of President Trump and his administration.
Hold on, I didn't know that there was legitimate opposition to Maduro. I'm surprised that she's alive because I feel like he would just kill any opposition.
to address this as a national security issue is the correct one.
Para garantizar que
Maduro now saying his regime has more than 5,000 Russian missiles along Venezuela's coast. Tensions also spiking between the U.S. and Venezuela's neighbor, Colombia.
The president of Colombia is a drug dealer.
The U.S. sanctioning Colombian President Gustavo Petro and his family, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent accusing him of flooding the United States with drugs and poisoning Americans. Petro responding, saying his government has worked hard to fight drug trafficking.
And Petro is now on a short list of leaders under U.S. sanctions, including Russian leader Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC.
All right. So yeah, it seems like every time we hear about Venezuela in the news, we're like, oh no, we wouldn't go to war with Venezuela, right? Right? Well, I have a feeling that the Venezuelan people are taking this very serious, you know? This is not you know, these are like essentially, imagine if another country came to the United States and started destroying our cruise ships or boats off of the coast, right? That'd totally be considered an act of war, right? Right? Okay. Hold on. There was a video. Hold on. Here, I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. Trying to find this video on TikTok. Oh, nope. Let me not show Nalgas on stream.
According to Trident on X, it looks like the United States is currently bombing Venezuela, so it looks like we're going to war, y'all.
No, I'm not sure. I don't think that's real. Hold on. I wanted to find this video I saw of this, like, because the Venezuelan people are taking this serious, I think, and they got this abuela learning how to shoot a gun. I'll never find it, will I? What the frick is my...
Complejo petroquímico na María los Campos. Y ahí está Maracaibo. Venga, Maracaibo.
Wow, so this is what Maduro does. He has his own little yacht. Crazy. Or if China had an aircraft carrier off the coast of... Exactly. Of course Venezuela is going to freak out. Let me look at Nicolas Maduro's page. Hold on, let me pull out my phone real quick. Sorry, chat. I'm being boomer right now. But I gotta find this video. See, I need to see my saves. Oh, I guess I didn't save it. Wow. Okay. Oh, I found it. Okay, hold on. Oh, it's from the BBC, no wonder. What the fuck is Nicolas Maduro, man? What is he's a podcaster? What are these finger guns that he has? I'm sorry, that's cringe. BBC News Mundo. There we go. All right. Let's see. Come on. Sorry. I'm being big boomer right now. Part 260.
Adán, Eva y Lilith. ¿Cómo? ¿3 personas en el jardín del Edén? Esta es al menos una de las interpretaciones.
Nope. 923. Oh, maybe this is an old video then. Hold on. I think I know what I can do. Copy link. Let me do this into. There we go. Okay, if you can't see, there's on screen, it's like a senora who's, I don't know, she gotta be like at least 60. And she's being trained on how to use a gun. It's like a AK-47. And behind this there's like posters showing like proper gun usage.
Si tengo que dejar la vida, la dejo aquí.
This guy pretending to mow down from a tank.
Si tengo que dejarla luchando, en este pueblo lo hago. Ya yo he vivido bastante. Tenemos que dar a entender al amigo del norte que a Venezuela hay que respetarla.
Wow.
Porque aquí no estamos jugando.
Oh, he said that if it comes to it, he'll have to leave his whole life here, I guess, and that I think he said he'll fight for it if he has to. My Spanish is not that good. Look, I got another old lady aiming down the sights, unable to even hold the gun. Look at that. She's struggling. What is this? And it's bad because, like, if you don't know, Venezuelans, like, military, they only know how to fight against their own people. I don't think these military people have actually ever fought against another military. So if we wanted to, if the United States wanted to, we could totally take over Venezuela without a doubt. But should we? No, there's nothing for us there. Oh, look, another lady laying down, like practicing. Oh, no.
Agarrar el arma. Me sentí un poquito nerviosa, pero yo sé que puedo.
Una K-103, el arma por excelencia de nuestro ejército. Un rifle bastante competente y nos están dando una instrucción básica. Una capacitación de cómo manipular el rifle, cómo provisionarlo y cómo hacerle un mantenimiento preventivo. Siempre es bueno tener a la población lista y más que todo con una amenaza latente en nuestras costas. Entonces estamos dispuestos a defender a la patria.
Yep, he said you're going to defend our country if we have to. Dang. So it's a video showing the American. That's so quiet.
Same situation with immigration.
Okay. Video. There's petroleum. Maduro dice. Oh. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, that was from September. I didn't really realize. I I guess September 23rd. Okay, so anyways, like people in Venezuela are taking what the United States, or I should say what Trump is doing very seriously. Because like why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't a Latin American country who is getting bullied by the United States, why wouldn't they fear that the United States would come and attack them?
Atención.
This is Maduro talking.
Domingo. Pueblo de los Estados Unidos lo sabe. Se están inventando una nueva guerra eterna.
He's okay, so this is President Maduro talking, saying that they're fabricating a new eternal war.
Prometieron que más nunca se metían en una guerra y se están inventando una guerra que nosotros vamos a evitar. ¿Con qué? Con la movilización de los pueblos de América del Sur.
Damn, so what if unironically Donald Trump attacking Maduro like the way he is raises up Maduro's popularity? And it's already shit. He has no popularity. He only is in power because he has power, and everyone underneath him is only in power because they are keeping him in power. Let's see what Lindsey Graham said about.
We turn now to Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. He joins us from Seneca, South Carolina. Welcome back to Face the Nation. Senator,
thank you. Good morning.
On Friday, Defense Secretary Hegseth ordered the deployment of the Navy's most advanced aircraft carrier, the Gerald Ford, to Latin America. President Trump was asked if he planned to ask Congress for a declaration of war. Take a listen.
Oh, no.
I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to
go to war,
bringing drugs into our country. Okay, we're going to.
Oh my God! Sorry. I didn't know we were this far into actually it being war. He said, "I don't think we need to kill. I don't think we need to declare war. We just need to go in and kill people." What the fuck?
Kill them. They're going to be like dead.
They're going to be like dead.
You don't need an aircraft carrier to hit drug boats. Are land strikes planned?
Yeah, I think that's a real possibility. I think President Trump's made a decision that Maduro, the leader of Venezuela, is an indicted drug trafficker, that it's time for him to go, that Venezuela and
It's
Colombia
been time for him to
have
go.
been safe havens for narco-terrorists for too long. And President Trump told me yesterday that he plans to brief members of Congress when he gets back from Asia about future potential military operations against Venezuela and Colombia. So there will be a congressional briefing about a potential expanding from the sea to the land. I support that idea, but I think he has all the authority he needs. Senator Gallego on another network accused President Trump and our military of committing murder by attacking these drug boats. To our men and women in uniform, you're not murdering anybody. You're making America safer by going after narco-terrorists. You're following lawful orders. When President Bush 41 took Ortega out in Panama,
Daniel
went in
Ortega
Grenada to deal with the Cuban influence from Grenada in our backyard. He has all the authority in the world. This is not murder. This is protecting America from being poisoned by narco-terrorists coming from Venezuela and
We're
Colombia.
calling them
Well, a
narco-terrorists.
lot there, but just to clarify, the examples you're citing also
Narco-terrorist. I think he just means drug smuggling. That's crazy.
involved ground troops. You said time for Maduro to go.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot like regime
Yeah, it
change.
is.
Are you talking about troops on the ground?
I'll let the president speak to that. I'm talking about a briefing
what a
that would
P-word,
expand
bro.
military operations.
He said Maduro's got to go and can't even back up his words.
Potentially from the sea to the land. It is time for Maduro to go. It was time for Ortega to go. The Monroe Doctrine has been robustly applied by President Trump. So these military assets are moving forward to deal with a country that's got blood on its hands when it comes to Americans by flooding our country with drugs from Venezuela and Colombia. So I hope Maduro would leave peacefully, but I don't think
he's not
going to
leave
around
peacefully.
much longer. I think President Trump is tired of Venezuela being used as a staging platform to poison America.
What?
There's a lot there.
Whoa, okay, yeah. There's a lot there that she's going to have to unpack. I know that for a fact because he just said a bunch of things. Wow, I can't believe we're actually talking about this in reference to Venezuela. It's like, it reminds me of how we used to talk about Iraq and Afghanistan.
There, sir, but you cited a Democratic senator's criticism. He's not the only one.
Yeah.
Some of your Republican colleagues have been uncomfortable with what little information has been shared with Congress. Take a listen.
But if they want all-out
Oh,
war,
Rand
where
Paul.
we kill anybody and everybody that is in the country of Venezuela or coming out, that has to have a declaration of war. It's something that is not pretty, very expensive, and I'm not in favor of declaring war on Venezuela, but the Congress should vote. The president shouldn't do this by himself.
If this was happening with this level of insight under the Biden administration, I'd be apoplectic.
Wow.
Todd Young also criticized this. What exactly is the end game? Because you're talking about regime change in Venezuela. The president says this is about drug boats.
Yeah. Well, I
Let's
think
watch
the
him
end game is to make
backpedal.
sure that Venezuela and Colombia cannot be used to poison America, that the narco-terrorist dictator Maduro no longer be able to threaten our country and to send in drugs to kill Americans. As to Rand Paul, I just disagree fundamentally with his approach. We didn't have a declaration to go into Panama.
Damn.
Bush 41 went into Panama to replace the leadership there because the Panamanian leadership, were working with drug cartels to threaten our country. Reagan didn't have a declaration of war, congressional authorization.
Wait, drug cartels? I thought when we went into Panama, it was to retake the Panama Canal. We just learned about this. Bush 41. 41 in Panama. Yeah, okay, so this happened in 1989. Okay. Yeah, it was in mid-December. The purpose of the invasion was to dispose of the de facto ruler of Panama, General Manuel Noriega, who was wanted by the U.S. authorities for racketeering and drug trafficking. Okay, never mind. I was wrong. Okay, so yeah, I could have sworn it was because they were blocking the Panama Canal, but whatever. Oh, man. Okay. So, yes, we did not need to declare war to do this. We did not need to declare war to go into Colombia or
to deal with Cuban influence. So this idea of Rand Paul, I just fundamentally disagree with. To the other senators, you deserve more information and you're going to get more information. But there is no requirement
F you,
for
Rand
Congress
Paul.
to declare war before the commander-in-chief can use force. Panama and Grenada are two examples in our backyard where Republican presidents chose to go after countries and leaders that were threatening our people.
But there seem to be a number of issues wound up in here. I know you personally used to serve as a judge advocate in the Air Force. We looked at the JAG manual. Preventative self-defense employed to counter non-imminent threats is illegal under international law. So if we are not at war and these suspected criminals pose no threat of imminent violence, isn't this potentially a war crime to be killing the people on these boats and then to
it's
be
disgusting.
taking out
I'm sorry. It's disgusting the way he's laughing at her.
No, not at all. I don't know what manual you're referring to, but I know what President Bush 41 did. He took down Ortega, the leader of Panama, because he was involved in drug trafficking, threatening our country. Venezuela is now partnering with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is running out of money because Iran is weak.
That's not new.
Partnering with drug cartels.
Wait,
in Venezuela.
what? I didn't know this. Venezuela partnered with Hezbollah? No way. What the?
No, it should have stopped. Here's what's new. You got a commander-in-chief that's not going to put up with this crap. We're not going to sit on the sidelines and watch boats full of drugs come to our country. We're going to blow them up and kill the people that want to poison America. And we're now.
Damn, I never heard. Lindsey Graham. Yes, thank you. But shown in a box. This man is so evil. Lindsey Graham is, oh my God, he's been around for way too long. He's like Nancy Pelosi. It's time to go, buddy. It's time to go. I think he, represents Kentucky or something? Hold on. Lindsey Graham? The word is, he's from South Carolina. Okay. And I just want to remind everyone that Lindsey Graham is the one that isn't married and has never had a girlfriend. Just want to remind everyone about that. That he's been in office. Let's see. Oof, he's been in politics for a very long time. He was in the military. He was in the Air Force. Wow. Okay. Oh my God, that's him. Okay. Oh wow. Look at him in uniform. Wow. That's crazy. Okay, anyways. I just wanted to point out that yep, that's the guy that's not married and doesn't have a girlfriend.
Now going to expand operations, I think, to the land. So please be clear about what I'm saying today. President Donald Trump sees Venezuela and Colombia as direct threats to our country because they house narco-terrorist organizations. The leader of Venezuela is an indicted drug dealer in American courts. So yeah, the game is changing when it comes to drug traffickers and drug cartels.
Why is he
going to
cry?
use military force like we have in the past to protect our country. That's the new game we're playing, and I'm glad we're playing that game. And if I were Maduro, I'd find a way to leave before he goes down.
He can't.
Is trafficking cocaine an armed attack on the United States? That's what you're equating it to?
I'm saying
He doesn't
that there's
care.
plenty of law.
You know, when they get, you know, I would really love to find out where all these drugs that are coming from Venezuela are, who are they actually going to in the United States? Because I bet once we find out who's doing Venezuelan drugs, he's not going to care. He's not going to care who's doing the drugs here, because we already have so many people doing drugs in the United States. This is not about drugs. I don't know if like Mom said, if it's about petroleum. I don't know if it's about petroleum. I see people making the case for it about petroleum, but I don't know.
Under Article 2 powers of the president are designed to protect our countries from threats, foreign and domestic. Was it illegal for Bush to take Ortega out in Panama? Was it illegal for Reagan to go into Grenada to stop Cuban influence building this big long runway? There's plenty of precedent here to do what he's doing, but the game has changed. The game has changed when it comes to narco trafficking, drug organizations. We're going to take you out.
Well, you referenced something earlier, so I want to come
how we
back
did
to.
in Mexico.
You said to the men and women of
Like how we've taken out all the big drug lords in Mexico. What has that done? It's made the whole drug thing even worse. It's made Mexico even more violent. We're talking about Venezuela here. This is a country where people do not have enough to eat to like sustain the amount of calories that they have to sustain their life, right? In Venezuela, there's bread lines, literal bread lines happening. Well, I wouldn't say bread lines, but like grocery store lines, you know, waiting to get into the grocery store. Venezuela food. Oh, short. My God. Food shortage. Okay, 9 years ago. No, come on. We need to see something. There's food shortages now. Okay. Whatever. YouTube's not giving me up-to-date info, but that's okay. So yeah, anyways, there's food shortages in Venezuela right
the
now.
military that they are carrying out lawful orders. Secretary Hegseth removed the top uniformed lawyers in the Air Force, you know this, the Navy and the Army, because he called them roadblocks to orders that are given by a commander-in-chief. There have been other departures as well. This raises concern that commanders are not being given adequate legal counsel. That is why you just said that sentence, to assure them.
That's garbage. That's absolute garbage.
He got caught.
President Trump doesn't have the... No, I'm saying that the theory that President Trump's doing something here illegally, dealing with a country that's run by an indicted drug dealer, it's the same as Panama. There's a better case to go into Venezuela than there was Panama. There's a better case to deal with Colombia than there was Grenada. Yeah, I've been doing this all of my adult life. I have all the confidence in the world that President Trump has the legal authority, but more importantly, he's doing the right thing. More Americans have died from cocaine and fentanyl poisoning than any terrorist group in the world. I am very pleased that we now have a president who's going to use the full force of the American people, the might of America, to protect us from narco-terrorist states and drug organizations. Keep it up, Mr. President. We're not committing murder. We're protecting our nation from people who want to poison us.
Well, there's obviously buyers on the other end of it, which is why the cartels are selling, right? But I want to...
This lady's trying so hard. I'm sorry. She's trying so hard to debate him, and she just is not that experienced. She has all these papers. I'm sure her staff or whatever. She's not doing a good job at debating him, but it's still, she's getting him. This is crazy.
Come back to when we talk about lawful orders here. I myself spoke to a former senior commander who said he'd want that in writing because of concern that this is going to be down the line questionable. You've already heard the orders to carry out operations. You've already heard Democratic lawmakers, including on this program, say that they have concerns about future prosecutions of
act on your concerns.
Officers.
Why don't you okay, if you got concerns.
Okay, we're done with this debate. We're done with that. It's cringe. Okay, so I found this article from AP News, and it's from August of 2025. Where it says, literally a headline, "For many families, every meal is a struggle in Venezuela's economic crisis." For those of you who don't understand, Venezuela is a very rich country, or I should say, like, they have potential to be a rich country, right? They just like don't export anything. And by relying everything on oil, by like putting everything that they rely on in oil, like they put all their economic eggs into the oil basket, then they're like, there was always going to be ups and downs, right? So, but you know, it's really bad. It's really bad that the people there are starving. Bread for breakfast if there are no headaches. Juan Colina takes 3 rolls of bread, the only food he'll have for breakfast on this summer day, and dunks them in a sugary orange-flavored drink. It was something of a treat. Money has lost so much value in the past few months that... Oh, I lost my spot. Oh, well, here's pictures. You could see, like, oh my god, they're rationing out that one mango. A youth eats at San Juanas Teodo Church Soup Kitchen. Yeah. Look at this family. 3 grandson. Yep. These people are struggling. That's why I'm like, we can't go to war with them. What the hell? You know? It's gonna be... It's not gonna be good. We need to be helping these people. Stardust said he's gonna use full force of Grinder too. Sorry, that was a good one. I'm assuming that was about Lindsey Graham. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. All right. We get it. Venezuela, we'll keep the eye on that. There's other Latin American countries that we will definitely cover too, because Argentina, you already know, we be giving this man money. Like, what's up with that? Yeah. So, it's funny that President Trump will say, oh, the poor Argentinians, they're starving. We got to get them money. We got to give Milei money. But reality, like, Milei's, he ruined his own economy by doing all those crypto scams and doing all those deregulations, I think. So, I would have much rather have sent 20 million or however much we sent to 20 million. It's probably 20 billion. However much we sent to Milei, we should have just sent that to the people of Venezuela. Like, come on, why can't we accept the refugees from Venezuela? Oh, because I know why. But like, where's Marco Rubio? What is Marco Rubio saying about Venezuela? One last thing, and then we'll sign off. 1 month ago. No, we need something. Filters this week. No, I don't want to watch Glenn Greenwald.
Let's go back to information from...
Oh, sorry. That's a busted ass thing.
It is October 22nd, 2025, and the Trump administration is not hiding the fact that it is openly pushing for regime change in Venezuela. Of course, this is not the first time that Trump has gone this route, but he is taking a bit of a different approach in his second term, as he is now openly talking about the possibility of land strikes. He's openly saying that he has approved CIA operations inside the country targeting the government of Nicolas Maduro. So what does that mean for Venezuela and for the region as a whole if the Trump administration gets its way this time around? Well, we got into all of that and more with a special guest earlier, so let's take a listen to that conversation now. Joining me now to discuss is Fiorella Isabel, a journalist, geopolitical analyst, and co-host at Truthwire. Fiorella, thanks so much for taking the time to join me.
Thank you for having me, Rachel.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show. Now, I want to get your take on the latest here, because Trump really is not hiding the fact that he is pushing for regime change in Venezuela. He's building up the U.S. military in the Caribbean, carrying out a number of attacks there, openly saying he's considering land strikes, and that he has approved covert CIA operations inside the country. So how do you view Trump's approach this time around, and what does it tell us when everything is so out in the open that even this claim of drug trafficking is obviously just a cover up for the regime change that they really want?
Right. Well, you just said it, right? It's a cover up for the regime change against Venezuela. And this has been a long time coming. And we need to understand that the biggest threat right now to Venezuela isn't coming from Donald Trump, but it is coming from Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is, of course, the one that has been pushing for war against Venezuela for now, I would say, decades since he's been in politics. He's a go-to Gusano. He's the go-to guy that has always cultivated this pro-imperialist sentiment, especially in Florida.
Sorry, for those of you who don't know, gusano is a Spanish word for worm. The go-to gusano. And I think there's been like a traditional thing of calling anti-communist people gusanos.
When we talk about Miami, when we talk about the Miami Cubans, the Miami Venezuelans, he has cultivated the opposition forces there. And before he was actually part of the Trump administration, he had been pushing throughout his career to get at Venezuela via funding NGOs. And this was all revealed through the data leaks, actually, ironically, that we've been having. Even Elon Musk's own NGO attempts to get rid of the NGOs highlighted a lot of this. This is nothing new for the Trump administration. The other part of this is that Donald Trump was always going to pivot towards the Middle East and Latin America during his second term, because of the fact that he's trying to promote himself as a peace president. So it's not coincidental that we're seeing the timing of all of this happening right now. For example, he is being promoted as a ceasefire peace president, while of course we see Israel violating the ceasefire, and simultaneously he is being pushed as the one that's going to bring peace in Ukraine, when we very well know whatever may be achieved is only temporary and conditional. And of course, we've heard this time and time again that there will be some sort of reconciliation. And again, this is always going to be on U.S. terms. And so while we're seeing that mechanism of Trump being poised as the guy that's going to bring an end to the wars, we see him pivoting to the Middle East towards the expansion of Greater Israel, and of course to Latin America, where he, of course, wants the oil, he wants the resources, the gold, very, very important minerals for the coming tech, fourth industrial revolution of sorts. We're talking about the minerals that are going to help with AI, with computer development.
The rare earth minerals.
Donald Trump is really looking at a transactional, I would say, operation more than any sort of just boots on the ground. I think what we're seeing in media is a portrayal of military boots on the ground, but really whatever he does, as you mentioned earlier, the CIA is involved, is going to be an attempt to covertly have this regime change through, I think, trying to turn members of the Venezuelan military, trying to turn people and scare them into submission. And this has failed many times in Venezuela, but the U.S. is definitely putting all their forces out for this time.
And why has it failed in Venezuela? Because that's literally what the Venezuelan government does to its own people.
We knew that this was going to happen, right? We knew as soon as Trump chose or maybe selected Marco Rubio as his Secretary of State that there was going to be a focus on Latin America. And it's interesting because I think about when we went through this with Syria in 2014, 2015. And if you brought up the CIA, you were called a conspiracy theorist, right? You were demonetized and censored on social media. The idea that the CIA would get involved and, try to overthrow the Syrian government while at the same time coincidentally fighting ISIS, that wasn't allowed to exist. But here we kind of have it all laid out of this is exactly how the Trump administration plans on doing it. Given that it's out in the open, what are your concerns about just how far the U.S. could go here?
Yeah, well, the thing is, that's it, right? We're being told openly that the US has a CIA involved, that they are getting all their intel and their information directly from the CIA, that this is now being openly written throughout mainstream media, including The Guardian. And the fact that we're being told this signals to me that whatever happens is going to be done actually in a more way that is not just covert, but is justified through some sort
Mm,
of what we would call a false flag attack, some sort of
there we go.
excuse to give them the red light, right? We're seeing the narco trafficking, the drug trafficker excuse being thrown out there with no evidence. And the fact, of course, that Gustavo Petro, the president of Colombia, pointed out is that the majority of the drugs and the majority of the capital from the war on drugs, as we know, has gone to the United States for the United States, and
Wow.
even recognized by international law, by the UN. Venezuela has very little to do when it comes to the war on drugs, when it comes to narcotics.
Yeah,
So
because I was gonna say,
obviously
like, I feel
that's an
like
excuse that's not really sticking.
Mexico
But what I
probably
think
plays
we're
more
going
of a
to
role
see
in drug
in terms of
trafficking
this time
than
around, especially
Venezuela
with
does these
Marco
days. I
Rubio
don't
as
know. Maybe
Secretary
I
of
may be
State,
wrong.
I think what we're going to see is an overt type of justification for doing this. And the thing is, I think we're at a point in the US where we have become aware of a lot of this where we weren't at before. So I think that the reason why it seems so open to us too is because people have found out through what's happened in Gaza, through what's happened with Russia and Ukraine and Russiagate and all of these things that have happened, especially in the last 5 years, that the United States has been doing this for a long time. And so it's getting more difficult for them to actually come out of this as something credible, to actually give the excuses of, oh, yes, we're going in, we're going to save the American people, we're going to save the American
Democracy.
public from these drug cartels. But the reality is that unfortunately there's a sector of the population that still supports Donald Trump that is justifying this, just based on the fact that we need to clear our borders, we need to go after the people. There's justifying surveillance. And so they're
Yeah.
surely going to justify targeting innocent fishermen, which is some of the latest people from Ecuador as well that the Trump administration has killed, violating international law. So we're going to see that, I think, happen. But what, again, I think is more so along the lines of our footprint, so you will, the modus operandi of what we do, is going to be a story thrown out there of something going on, but more so done covertly. We've also seen, by no coincidence, Maria, what's her name? I'm blanking on
Maria
her name.
Corina Machado, yeah.
Maria Corina Machado, who wasn't even the candidate last time around, if you recall, but she is the one that has been, of course, thrown into the Nobel Peace Prize nomination, and she won.
Wow.
And then, this whole thing being paraded around her is the fact that this is now the pivot. Like, okay, look, she's the one that's going to bring democracy to Venezuela. Let's put that out again. And I think it's really sad and pathetic because they've tried this time and time again and it hasn't happened. However, I think because there's so many distractions
Hugo
going on in the world right now,
Chavez.
this is why they did it now, right? This is why they're trying to get away with it right now.
Yeah, and you see the timing of it, right? Trump acting like he solved everything in Gaza, right? Don't worry about the genocide that's still ongoing. He brought a ceasefire there. Everything's good and figured out there. Don't worry about the famine. But then over here, as you're noting, you've got Maria Corina Machado coming back into the spotlight. And I thought it was interesting. I know some clips have been circulating on social media of an interview that she did with Donald Trump Jr. back in February.
No
and
way.
that's when she was openly saying, hey, we're going to privatize the oil industry, right? American companies are going to come in and make a lot of money, come and take our resources. She was telling the Trump administration exactly what they wanted to hear. How do you view the position that she's in now versus, say, Juan Guaido back in 2019, where the Trump administration at the time was like, yeah, that's the new Venezuelan president, and it didn't work out too well for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the pivot, I think the strategy shift is like they're not denying the goals. And this is kind of also part of the Trump administration's like, flat out like, hey, we're going to say the quiet part out loud. We're going to tell the truth and we're going to get away with it because this is who we are. We're going to embrace being the police of the world. We're going to embrace being the bullies and thinking Latin America is our backyard. We're going to embrace the Monroe Doctrine and we're going to go after the Venezuelans at a time when we're promoting peace. Look at us. We're, look, Maria Corina Machado is essentially going to bring democracy and it's going to help the American economy. Because if you look at the focus
I don't know.
of the US right now,
Can there be democracy in Venezuela again? I don't know.
it's the economy. It's the fact that things are so expensive, that there's inflation, that there's so many things happening in the US economy wise that maybe this will actually ring some sort of truth for many people in the United States. Not that they really care about Venezuela, but hey, maybe this will benefit the economy and it will benefit us Americans. That's what he's selling. And that's what I think a lot of people are buying when it comes to that. And I think because of the fact that Maria Corina Machado has been a figure behind the scenes so much in the last election attempt that she tried to steal, that still media to this day say that Nicolas Maduro lost the election. I think that the fact that there's so much importance surrounded towards her is kind of signaling that there are more resources being poured in than before, that they've learned from their mistakes, and that they're trying to, in a way, I think, use this sort of blackmail on Venezuela. There were rumors that, for example, Nicolas Maduro gave everything up. If you remember that Donald Trump said, oh, he tried to give us everything because he's so scared that we're going to come in. Well, according to my sources, those rumors that Venezuela was going to stop trading with Russia and China are false. That Maduro didn't actually say that. And again, Donald Trump says one thing, and we don't really know
if
what's
it's true or
what's
not.
And this is, of course, not just relegated to him, but to other presidents as well. But in particular, when it comes to Donald Trump, he tends to speak in very big, boastful type of language. And what I think is happening here is also an attempt to figure out, how Venezuela is with Russia, how Venezuela is with China, what are their alliances with Iran, because there is also that alliance with Iran. And, Russia and China will support Venezuela when it comes to strategic partnerships, when it comes to even defense in terms of manufacturing, in terms of things like that. But if there were to come a point where there was an actual war waged on Venezuela, the way Russia and China operate is very pragmatic. They don't get involved.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't see China or Russia even at this point. Remove Russia from the equation because, Putin's friends with Trump. But like China, I don't see China getting into a war with the United States over Venezuela. No. China has so many more options for if it is about oil or rare earth minerals, they have so many other options. They don't need to have Venezuela. They don't even need to support Venezuela. Venezuela is like I said, it's dying. Nicolas Maduro took power in like 2015 after Hugo Chavez died, and like the pandemic was like almost like we might have seen him be removed from power, but he just doubled down on the authoritarianism, and it's real bad. Like I don't know, man. Venezuela is a third world country, like below third world country at this point, with the way people are suffering there.
They sort of say we need to follow the UN Charter.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Lavrov recently said. He said, we condemn the interference on Venezuela's sovereignty, and we hope that peace can be resolved through the UN Charter. So I think there's also that testing of seeing, how Venezuela is doing. Do they have the military capacity?
No,
they say,
they
because
don't.
Venezuela is arming, right? They're doing
who?
the Plan Independencia. They're gathering all sorts of militias. They're training, they're preparing for an actual confrontation.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing here from Venezuela, that they're going to fight. They're not just going to give up. But the United States, more than ever, seems almost just completely boastful of what they're doing. They seem sure, right? And it is kind of scary when they are this sure. Because when they are this sure, I suspect that they have something up their sleeve.
Yeah, it's incredibly concerning. And even just the build up to it, right? The fact that you have Trump here talking about like, oh yeah, we may bomb a sovereign nation, like as if he's going to wake up tomorrow and decide whether or not based on how he feels about it. And as you were noting there, when it comes to the position that the Venezuelan people are in, I mean, they have been through it with all of these sanctions that the US has imposed targeting their country. And obviously countries like Russia and China and Iran have found ways to continue to work with Venezuela despite all of the threats from the US. And so I am curious too, when it comes to the position that the Venezuelan people are in, how do you see them and how do you see really the spirit to continue to fight back, especially if
dying.
the US does attack the country directly?
Well, ultimately, I think Venezuela is one of the few countries that functions ideologically. And what I mean by this is they have the Bolivarian Revolution. They believe in the Bolivarian Revolution, and that stems from Hugo Chavez and what he did for the people. When I was in Venezuela, there were houses that were constructed for people. This is very similar to the Soviet Union, which had apartment buildings constructed for the people, and people remember that because till this day they still have that to rely on. They still have this idea of, okay, whatever happens, we have some sort of backing of the government. Now, Of course, that's not denying
because
what
the
sanctions
government
involve. That's not
had
denying the
money.
economic turmoil.
The
that
government had
through,
money
but
to
the
be
fact that
able to
people
give
even
them.
stayed in Venezuela
Yeah.
and endured hunger and endured just complete and total poverty to make it a point that no matter what, this is our country and we are a sovereign people and we are going to fight for our sovereignty
That's
is, I think,
crazy.
one of the more important points that I think can be reflected throughout many of the countries that have faced US imperialism or Western imperialism. And that is something that can't be necessarily taught. We see that also, for example, in the resistance factions in Lebanon by Hezbollah and Yemen's Ansarallah. We see that, okay, the chance may be very small. You may face a lot of adversity, but you're going to prove your point. And that's stemming from an ideological nature, not a pragmatic one. A pragmatic nature would say, all right, well, let's just open up our markets to the United States and try to do the best we can and figure out a way to coexist. So they understand, though, that ultimately you can't coexist with that because the United States wants to control Venezuela's flow of goods and resources, just like they pretty much control that of Peru and pretty much control that now of Argentina. We've seen what's happened with Chile, of course, and they're gearing to do that towards Bolivia with the latest election.
Yeah.
So again, this is Southcom, right, in Latin America. This is the ultimate plan, and so Venezuela has been looked upon as a beacon of not just the ideological socialism, but more so the resistance, the anti-imperialism in Latin America.
Interesting.
And I think Colombia has taken note because if you remember before Gustavo Petro, the relationship between Colombia and Venezuela was not good because it was a US-backed establishment president. And now with Gustavo Petro, who recently gave a very scathing interview to Univision, which is a neoliberal outlet, and basically said the United States, they're using an excuse. This is all about Venezuela's oil. He basically told it like it was. And this is very rare for a Colombian president to say. This signals that there's an awareness in Latin America of what's happening. And there's also a fear of what happens if Venezuela falls, because with Venezuela, you also have the ties to Cuba, which is, again, a very, very poor country facing sanctions and decades of intervention and imperialism. And then you have Nicaragua, and then you have very little left. Honduras and Mexico, I would say, are more progressive, and that's it. And so it's ultimately the capture of the entire Latin American continent. I would say the continent of South America, and then of course Central Americans as well, that are fighting for this sort of identity, this sovereignty. And I think that's why we're seeing the attack on the Caribbean, which includes Venezuela, which includes Colombia. It's including, of course, these areas. And that's something that I think in order to understand that, you need to go back to the history of Venezuela and why they're fighting, how they're fighting in spite of the odds.
Yeah, incredibly important points to keep in mind here as we're watching this. And yeah, it is interesting to see how each country has a different approach to this. The last thing I want to bring up, because you're talking about the US targeting of Latin America, it sounds a lot like the US targeting of the Middle East, right? This fight for control, this fight for influence, this idea that if any of the governments in the region don't act exactly as we want them, aren't filled with our puppets, then we are going to target them. How do you see the Trump administration? And I mean, it feels like it's at this point of getting to the point of overextending itself, right? It's got the proxy war against Russia. It's still enabling Israel to commit genocide. It wants more war against Iran. You've got Venezuela, you've got Colombia. It's like, it feels like there has to come a point where it finally becomes too much. So how do you see the position that the US is currently in?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that there is a point of overextension. And this is why I think we're going to see eventually Trump try to finagle something in Ukraine, because remember, he ran on that and he hasn't delivered. Definitely didn't deliver on the 24 hours. And he's still trying to push the idea that he's delivered a ceasefire in Gaza and is bringing peace. So I think the next attempt is going to be Ukraine. And again, notice that Marco Rubio is the one that's meeting with Lavrov, right? And we also have the same type of mentality. Why is it then with Russia that they have a different course of action? Well, because they see Russia as a formidable foe. And I think that's what they're trying to get out of Venezuela, is to see how far they will go, to see how well prepared they are. They did it with Russia. I don't think the United States nor NATO expected Russia to be as formidable as it has been and as prepared as it has been to take on.
That's true.
That's true. That preparedness, that power.
Here's why I agree with her, because remember back when the Ukrainians were like, yeah, we got this in the bag. We're I don't know if they ever were like, we got this in the bag. But I remember this trend going around, or not this trend, this like videos / headlines going around where it was making fun of the Russian military for having to like raise the enlistment age, right? because they needed more people. They needed more bodies. And so they were making fun of the Russians, like soldiers that were like, I don't know, gray haired, I guess. And they were like, oh my God, the Russians are not going to be able to even take care. But like, here we are. We're like still into this war. I don't know how many years later. Like, yeah, I just, if she's right, Miss Isabel, if she's right that like the Venezuela thing is just temporarily a temporary, like a in between of like our actual interest, which would probably be the Middle East, then like that makes sense to get to go, that makes sense that we would do that. We would just, only because we have in the past, we've messed around with Latin America, but we really want to go to the Middle East. Latin America's right here. Why would we want? Like, we could always have Latin America whenever we want. We can't always have the Middle East whenever we want, right? I think that's what America's logic is.
I think what we're going to see is an attempt to normalize with Russia. And there are, I don't know if you've noticed, but there are several sectors in Russia that have been promoting this idea of US and Russian like unity of sorts, which is kind of crazy because any sort of unity with the United States, it's not going to favor in the long run, not with the current government structure that exists. But there's this idea that that's a potential possibility. So I think PR-wise, we're going to see Trump and the conservatives sort of push that. And what after Syria is my process is no country, as strong as it might seem, is beyond the ability to fall, right? Like I mean, Damascus fell so quickly and so rapidly after years and years of fighting and succeeding. And I think with Venezuela, I know that they have been looking at what happened in Syria and have been looking at themselves and trying to see, okay, what's going to happen if, for example, we're left out in the dust and there's not enough aid coming to us. We're going to take matters into our own hands. And that's why we're seeing the, comprehensive defensive strategy. We're seeing them really prepare their entire population, whether it's police, firefighters, military officials. And I think the United States right now is going to have to pick its battles as to where it's going to go. And I'm pretty sure they've already picked their battles. They're going to try to end the war in Ukraine. And they're going to continue expanding Greater Israel and focusing on Latin America, because Latin America has the key resources that they need going into this next phase. And it's all about, of course, competing with China. And right now, what we're seeing is this kind of global capital rat race to get the
rare
most
earth
resources
minerals
in order to stand and be able to compete. And I think that's where this idea of the multipolar world is, in a way, kind of full of hopium, because just because we have multiple powers doesn't mean that there's automatically equity. Equity will have to be earned. But, we'll have a powerful Russia, we'll have a powerful China, we'll have a powerful US, and, Europe has gone down the drain. And I think we're also seeing that with the US too, is that they've noticed that Europe has been entirely just sucked dry of its wealth and its power. So, Europe doesn't really seem like the best ally at the moment.
No.
And I think that's what they're thinking. I think they're going to just put everything on NATO, put everything when it comes to the war in Ukraine on NATO, and wash their hands off of it and continue focusing on the Middle East and Latin America, which is where I think we're going to see more and more pushes, especially even towards Colombia, because again, Gustavo Petro has proven to be much more of a nuisance than they were expecting initially.
Yeah, it's very telling when you see it. Like, we're talking about it being all out in the open, but we're also watching as U.S. foreign policy is continuing business as usual. And I'm with you. I think it's something that the multipolar world as a whole, they are going to have to figure out. How do we deal with this? How do we deal with this when there's an ongoing genocide, or when one of our allies is being openly targeted and the U.S. knows exactly what it can get away with? Certainly a lot at stake here all around. And I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today to break down all of the latest here. Fiorella Isabel, a journalist, geopolitical analyst, and co-host at Truthwire. Thank you so much for your time and insight.
Yeah, that was really
Thanks for
good.
having me.
If anything in this video.
Thank you, Rachel Belvins. All right. That was our last topic for the day. So I already got the outro music going. Shout out to Dens 1000 again. I love his music. So I hope everyone has a good rest of your Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me on the first live broadcast of Inland Empire Political News on YouTube with your host, me, Angelina Tucci. tune in next week. I'll be back Sunday at 2 p.m. to stream the next episode. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a good one. Everyone, take care.